Story time of how I made my high school bully's dad my sugar daddy. Freshman year wasn't the best time for me. I wasn't the most popular or best looking girl at school. I was really shy, and instead of trying to make friends and talk to people, I kept to myself. Most people let me do my own thing, but then there was a girl named Claire. I don't know what I ever did to this girl, but she made my life miserable every chance she got. Making fun of my looks and putting me down in front of others was almost a daily ritual for Claire. My mom didn't have a lot of money, so I couldn't afford the cool clothing brands and styles that we're in. Claire would call me out for being poor and say I got all my clothes from Goodwill, all while laughing. One day at lunch, she smacked the tray out of my hands as I was passing by, and food got all over me. This resulted in the whole cafeteria staring and laughing at me. Fast forward to the end of senior year, and I had a major glow up. I was more confident, people started noticing me, and I had a lot of friends. I figured it was time to start dating, but I didn't really like anyone at school, so I downloaded a dating app. I matched with a handsome older guy who was looking for a sugar baby. I looked him up on Instagram to see more pictures and saw Claire in one of his photos. Upon further inspection, I discovered that this man was her recently divorced dad. I immediately messaged him. Part 2 of how I made my high school bully's dad my sugar daddy. I began chatting back and forth with Claire's dad through the dating app. He was twice my age, but he was handsome, and given the circumstances, I had to give this my best shot. He told me he was looking for a beautiful girl to spoil and spend time with, and made it very clear that he was interested in me. After talking for a few weeks, we set up our first date, which was dinner at a nice restaurant, followed by shopping. I knew this man had money because I remember Claire being one of the rich girls at school, and I was right. He took me to the Louis store and let me pick out any bag I wanted. We kept talking, and it was working out really nicely for me. He would send me money every week for makeup, to get my nails and hair done, or for whatever else I needed in between dates. One week, he said he couldn't go on our usual Saturday night outing because his daughter was coming over for dinner. I was not going to waste this opportunity. I told him how much I was looking forward to seeing him and asked if I could join them. He was hesitant at first, but I eventually talked him into it. I'll never forget the look on Claire's face when I walked in and kissed her dad. I showed Claire the new purse that her dad had bought me and bragged about how well he's always treating me. She was fuming and stormed out shortly after. To this day, he's still my sugar daddy, and Claire hates everything about it.
Can you solve this mystery? This is the story of 6 friends who went to the beach together, but something strange happened. One of their friends decided to dive into the water, then went missing. But things are not as simple as they seem. All the clues to what really happened are hidden in what I'm about to say. So these 6 friends went to the beach, and one of them decided it'd be fun to go cliff diving. Let's call him Tom. Tom dove into the water first while all of his other friends watched. Then about half a minute later, when Tom still hadn't come up, his 5 remaining friends followed. But still, even after everyone else came back up and swam to the shore, Tom was still nowhere to be seen. The 5 remaining friends thought the worst must have happened, so they left and tried to move on with their lives, until the 1-year anniversary of Tom's disappearance. They went back to the same beach to commemorate him. That's when Tom was right there, standing by the water. But something wasn't right. In front of him, right at the edge of the water, were 5 crosses. What really happened here? Can you solve this mystery?
Story time about how I caught my best friend with my ex-boyfriend just a few weeks after we broke up. We became friends in middle school and were inseparable ever since. My boyfriend and I met when we were 20, and we were together for 3 years. I'm not a strong drinker, so whenever we would go out, I would usually be the DD. My best friend used this opportunity to get extremely wasted every time we went out. Every time she got drunk, she would be extremely flirty with my boyfriend. She would do things like touch his chest, lean on him, and want to be in every picture or video he took. I chalked it up to her being drunk and didn't think too much into it. Fast forward to when me and my ex finally broke up. My best friend encouraged me to break up with him and told me that I deserved better. Shortly after, I noticed that she was hiding things from me and not telling me where she was or who she was hanging out with. Whenever we kicked it, she was always on her phone nonstop, and when I looked over, she would hide her phone or turn it over. One day I looked over and I noticed my ex's name as the contact that she was texting. I let it go that night, and the next day I checked her Snap location. Her location was in my ex's neighborhood, so I texted her and asked her what she was up to. She tried to play it off by saying she was shopping with her mom. At this point, all I saw was red. I decided to grab my key. Part 2 of catching my best friend with my ex-boyfriend a few weeks after we broke up. So my ex had a habit of not locking his doors, and when I went up to the door, guess what? It wasn't locked. I quietly let myself in and made my way up to his bedroom. I could already hear noises coming from the bedroom, so I knew what was up. Or so I thought I did. Imagine my surprise when I flung the door open and saw my best friend not with 1, not with 2, but 3 guys, and one of them being my ex. The look on her face when I walked in and saw her was priceless. I should also mention that I was recording all of this, so I got it all on video. My best friend ran after me with a blanket around her. At first, she was apologetic and begging for forgiveness. But after noticing that I was pretty much done with the friendship, she started being a huge bitch. She started calling me names and telling me it's not her fault that my ex likes her better because she's not vanilla like me. The next thing I did was really petty, but at the moment I didn't care. I texted the video I had of her to her sister and let her know what was going on. That's when she went into a full-on rage and tried to swing on me. I dodged it, yanked the towel, and slapped her right back. I left her on the lawn looking stupid and naked. All of our friends took my side and I never heard from her again.
Time. When I was in 6th grade, my mom would pick me up from school early most days out of the week, which I didn't have a problem with because who wouldn't want to get picked up early from school? Anyways, I noticed that every single time she would pick me up, we would go buy food and then my mom would bring it to this tire shop. I never saw who she gave the food to until one day she came back to the car with a guy, we'll just call him Julio. Anyways, my mom and Julio were being very touchy and flirty with each other, but my 11-year-old self didn't think anything other than it's just a friend she knows from high school. So we continuously meet him about 3 times a week, bringing him lunch and stuff, and then I saw my mom texting Julio and it said, "Hola mi rey, espero verte más al rato." So I was like, "Oh, who's that, mom?" And she said, "Oh, it's just Julio." So that's when I realized that they were more than just friends from high school. So I told her that I knew what she was doing, but I wasn't going to say anything to my stepdad because I don't like him. So this keeps happening for about a month where me and my mom would leave at night and not come home till later. But whenever my stepdad would ask, we would just say that we were at my grandma's house. I started getting really close to Julio and he was always buying me gifts and clothes and taking me to my dance practices. So I started getting really close with Julio and he was always buying me gifts and clothes and taking me to my dance practices. And one day when he was picking me up from dance practice, I get in his car and he pulls out an angel necklace with a real diamond in the center of it. He told me that I was never allowed to take it off, so I never did until the diamond fell off in the middle of class one day and I never found it again. That same day that the diamond fell off the necklace, me and my mom get home and my stepdad was pissed. And we were just like, oh no. So we asked him what's wrong and he just grabbed my mom's phone and goes to the texts between Julio and her, which are extremely flirty and inappropriate if you ask me. He then started screaming at my mom and they started arguing, but they didn't want the neighbors to hear, so me, my mom, and my sister all get in my mom's car and my stepdad took his car. We drive to an abandoned grocery store and we all sat in the parking lot for a little. Then my mom and my stepdad get out of their cars and they started screaming at each other again. They're fighting for a good 2 to 3 hours, and when they were finally done fighting, it was like 2 in the morning and we went to go get ice cream. We've never talked to Julio again. Low-key miss him though. He was a really good guy.
In the 6th grade I got in trouble for talking too much, so I got sent to the principal's office and the principal looked at me as if he wanted to kill me. He told me to sit down and wait while he handled some business, and a while after he came back and told me to go back to class, but I felt like something was off, so I asked him if everything was okay and he stared me down and told me to leave. I was so sad I went home crying and I told my mom about what happened and I was so sad I went home crying and I told my mom about what happened and she explained to me that they were dating and she broke his heart. I was in shock. The next day at school I went to his office and gave him a piece of my mind because what my mom does has nothing to do with me, and he slowly walked towards me and I got a little nervous. Because he is so fucking hot, like I would let this man have my babies. He grabbed me by my waist and asked me if I wanted to do the dirty. Obviously I said yes, and he told me to take of my cloths, so I took of my cloths and I was so ready. Then he just stood there, so I asked him what he was waiting for and he took out his phone and took a picture of me, then said that he was going to expose me if I didn't help him.
Here's a little story time of what my crazy celebrity ex-boyfriend would get mad at if I did or did not do. He would get mad if I would, for example, go to the DMV and put lip gloss on to take a picture. He said that I was trying to get attention from other guys, and the fact that he wasn't going with me proved that I was trying to get attention from other guys, therefore pickup guys at the DMV. He would also get mad if I showed him too much affection or if I tried to kiss him, because he said that that meant that I was a nymphomaniac and that the only conclusion he could come to was that I was cheating on him because I was a nymphomaniac. So eventually I stopped being affectionate altogether, and that made him think that I didn't want him because I was never affectionate. So I told him one day, well, if I am affectionate, it's bad, but if I'm not affectionate, it's bad. And he said, you're right, so you're stuck. He would also, for some reason, think that I was Lil Wayne's side chick. So anytime a Lil Wayne song came on, part 2 of what my celebrity ex-boyfriend would get mad at if I did or didn't do. He would get mad if I answered the phone too quick because that meant that I was hiding something and I didn't want him to be suspicious. But it also made him mad if I didn't answer the phone quick enough because that meant that I was definitely doing something bad. He would also get mad if I offered to go over to his place instead of mine because that meant I was hiding guys in my apartment, in my bathroom, and in my closet. So he would randomly show up to my apartment, check underneath my bed, my closets, and my bathrooms. And when he saw that there was no one there, he would storm out and say, I'm going to catch you one day. He would also get upset if my manager or my agent called me telling me that I had an audition because it made him envious, although he would say that what they were trying to do was actually pimp me out. He would get so envious and jealous if I had booked a commercial, if I was working on set, or if I had anything going for me in my life.
Story time.
So when I was a freshman in high school, I had the biggest crush on this one guy. It was a total secret though. Only me and my best friend knew about it. Then in the middle of the year, this new girl transfers to my school. She was talking about how she was all alone and had no friends. So being the nice people we were, we became friends with her. She ended up finding out that I liked this guy, and the day after I told her, I was super sick, so I couldn't come to school. Like for part 2. Part 2 to the toxic best friend. So the next day I was really sick and I couldn't come to school. So then when I came back, everybody was staring at me the whole day. I noticed it but kind of just brushed it off thinking it was nothing. But then I was talking to my new friend at lunch. Turns out that she had told the guy that I liked and the whole school that I liked him. And if that wasn't enough, she proceeded to tell him that she liked him too, even though she didn't. So now they were dating, and I had made a complete fool out of myself. After a while, the school forgot about it, but let's just say I'm not friends with that girl anymore. Also, guys, I've had a super busy week this week, so I'm sorry for the delay on part 2. Thanks!